You know, why didn't you buy a truck? You could buy a truck. You could buy 2 trucks and use one as parts and all that. Look, guys, I don't want a truck. I want something consistent that is going to make me money. I need a tool for this job. Hey, what's going on, everybody? All right, now I told you guys that I would actually make a video about why I stuck with Enterprise this go around instead of buying a truck. I know that I posted on Instagram a couple of or actually one really good quote that I got on a truck, but let's jump into why I ended up sticking with Enterprise instead of buying a truck outright. Now, there's 2 reasons why I chose to stick with Enterprise this go around instead of buying a truck, and the number 1 reason is downtime. Flat out downtime. That is the absolute biggest reason. So let's crunch a few numbers here. I'm not going to make this a crazy long video. I've already done a lot of numbers videos, but I'll jump into exactly why that is right now. Okay, so on paper, is Enterprise more expensive than a truck payment? Yes, absolutely, 100%. Actually, 200 to 300%. Okay, so with that being said, you know, why is this a good idea? Why would anybody do this if it's so much more expensive than having your own truck? Well, there's a number of reasons, actually. I mean, one, you got to think of the other uses that Enterprise could provide. If your truck is down, you know, that's an option to keep working. But one thing that I recommend to people is to try to get into this. I know that this year or last year, because of, you know, the whole pandemic thing, Enterprise has kind of been locked out, you know, because of the hard availability it is to get trucks right now. But under normal circumstances, you know, Enterprise is a pretty good idea to actually, without going out and buying a whole lot of equipment, you know, mainly the power unit, which is going to be way more than a trailer. You can rent and, you know, test the waters pretty much and see how you fare with that before you can kind of use it as a springboard. So the big thing as far as money goes is that the initial payment up front really starts to separate itself when you consider what all it does or doesn't cover. All right, sorry about that, everybody. It was getting way too windy outside, so I decided to go on ahead and jump in the truck. All right, so for the mileage that I put on these trucks now, currently as I drive, my payment with Enterprise is usually anywhere between $1,400 to $1,600 a month. And I'm not saying, you know, that the $1,400 is pretty much going to be your bare minimum. Okay, that's really like if you don't drive at all, pretty much. But it does cover, they kind of consider that, you know, like your 5,000 free miles. It's pretty much that plus your taxes. If you get insurance with them, that's, you know, that's another charge, but that's going to pretty much, you know, sum up your 5,000. Anything over that, it's going to start to creep up on that price. Now, I'm not running a ton of miles per month like I used to. But if I did, you know, of course, that price would go up per month. Now, with your truck buying one, you know, your payment is going to run anywhere between, you know, $700 to $1,000 a month, depending on several things, you know, your credit, how much you put down, you know, what your terms are. And of course, if you buy used, you know, that's going to actually take the price all the way down, even to zero, you know, if you buy one outright. But that doesn't matter, you know, stick with me here. So one thing that the price of Enterprise does include is your maintenance, your general repairs, your breakdowns, pretty much everything but fuel in the truck and tires if you blow one. Now, if the tires do wear down, like the previous truck that I had, you know, they threw on a whole new set, and it cost me all of maybe an hour and 15 minutes that day, to where I was just booking loads on the load board anyway. But let's jump into the reason. Let's jump into the reason of why, you know, this reason is, you know, downtime. And that is how much downtime costs you. It's how much downtime prevents you from making. So when you have a breakdown, you didn't take that time off, okay? You know, it's not like you were at home or you had scheduled to go home, and you know, this is where you're in an emergency and you break down. All right, it doesn't matter if you're covered under warranty, none of that. It needs fixed. So how long it takes to fix that, whether it's ordering parts or having to have it towed or, you know, to do whatever, that's all your downtime, you know. And you have to know, and you have to anticipate not just the repair bill. The repair bill is one thing, okay? That's one set price. That's what it costs to get you your keys back. But how much did that breakdown cost? You can ask a lot of these guys. You could have new trucks, old trucks, whatever. When you break down, it costs you money, and the repair is just the start of how much money that costs you, okay? You have to take into effect your downtime. Were you down for, 6 hours, that's a good breakdown. That's generally the ones you want to have. But there could be breakdowns where you're down for 2 days, 5 days, 2 weeks, a month, and it's those types of breakdowns that when you're not prepared for them, and it's really hard to prepare for those, especially if you're just starting out. That's why you need to have a pretty good lump sum of cash when you come into this on hand, just to anticipate something like that happening, because there are cases where it will happen. Hopefully it doesn't, but you can't write it off. And the biggest thing about downtime, okay, is, let's say just on an average week, I generate anywhere between $800 to $900 a day, okay? Now, let's take how many days that breakdown costs. Let's just go ahead and say 800. If I'm broke down for 5 days, that breakdown just cost me whatever I had to pay to get my keys back, plus $4,000 of revenue I lost. And it wasn't like a thing of to where, it was, oh, I was going to take that time off anyway. It's like, no, I didn't take that time off. That time was taken from me. I couldn't work. It's not that I wasn't going to. I couldn't. I was disabled pretty much. So you tack that $4,000 on top of whatever it costs to get your keys back. So the older your truck gets too, is, the more frequent situations like that are going to happen. So that's the great thing about Enterprise. Is it more expensive up front? Yes, absolutely. Is it going to be more expensive than buying a truck outright for the first, 70,000 or miles to a year? Probably yes. Past that point is where it's really going to start to shine. And the reason it's going to start to shine is because you're steadily getting new equipment. You don't have to worry about maintenance. You don't have to worry. I mean, you have to do maintenance, so you have to have maintenance done, I guess I should say. But the biggest thing, guys, is that I'm not a mechanic. I don't want to be. I don't want to turn my house into a maintenance bay, okay? Especially when I bring on more trucks. Now, that could be a thing, but at that point, hopefully, I'll have somewhere or somebody somewhere to do all of that for me. I don't need that at my house, or where I keep my stuff. I've got enough going on with the trailers. And it's not to say I'm not mechanically inclined. I can do basic things, like all my fluid changes, a little bit diff work, change brakes, all that stuff. But, you can only go so far when you're actually working on these vehicles at your home. Also keep that in mind. It totally wipes that out to where that's not even an issue, which is good because I've got enough on my plate without that. That's where it starts getting very, very, very expensive, is when you start tacking on all of that to your payment that's only, let's just say half of what an Enterprise payment would be. If something happens that month, chances are you're going to spend more than I would going the Enterprise route. You can play with that number all you want to, but you have got to consider how much downtime costs you. That's not just a situation. That is still business. You're not able to generate money, so it is costing you the ability to generate that money, and that amount of money that you could have generated that you didn't is an expense at this point. And that's why I'm okay right now for the time being. Now, I'm not saying that, oh, never buy a truck, no, there's places for that. Me personally, this is why this is my video about why I stuck with Enterprise this time. Me personally, this is why I stayed. And the second reason that I stuck with Enterprise instead of buying right now is credit and the interest rate that I couldn't get, that I wanted to get. I couldn't hit that mark. And why is that? Because I have a bankruptcy. The reason that I have a bankruptcy on my credit is because 4 years ago, I had a truck that put me under financially because of repairs and breakdowns. So I know the game. I know how much that could cost. And this was a semi. It was a 2015 Pete 579. And they were chasing turbo sensor issues. Tons of, the mileage, the warranty had, of course, just finished up. This was all the last 3 months of 2016. And of course, the warranty went out in July. So that was great. Perfect timing for that. But the point I'm trying to make here is this isn't just what looks good on paper. This isn't just theory. I've lived it. This is why I'm doing this, and it's based on what else I have done. And, some people are saying, save up. Why didn't you buy a truck? You could buy a truck. You could buy 2 trucks and use one as parts and all that. Look, guys, I don't want a truck. I want something consistent that is going to make me money. I need a tool for this job. I don't want a truck. I have vehicles. So that's what I'm buying with the enterprise payment, is the peace of mind and the knowing that if something happens, because one already has. I don't know if you guys noticed, I don't think I even really made a video about it. But when I first started doing this, all they had available was a single rear wheel. So I ran with that single rear wheel for about 3 weeks. Something started going on with the suspension in that thing. It was getting real stupid, and I couldn't get to a Ford dealership. They were about 6 days out. And being that it was 6 days out, just to diagnose the issue of what was happening with that, swap trucks. Come right back and swap trucks. Brand new truck, bye-bye issues. You cannot do that purchasing a vehicle. When you purchase a vehicle, that's your baby now. Anything that happens with it is it. And ask Danny at Hauling Cash. If it shuts you down, you might have to shut your doors. You can't anticipate that. That's not something you should even need to anticipate right out of the gate. You've got to get on reliability. And if these vehicles aren't reliable, which most of them are not because they all break, you might want to consider doing this at first. Well, the reason that I went under because of the breakdowns and the repair bills on my truck, you know, when they were chasing all these sensors and stuff like that, it was, you would have to pay these guys, you know, $2,400, $3,000 to change this, change that, change this. And every time they handed you your keys back, it was a, you know, I think we fixed it, let's see if this works. You know, there was never really any certainty, you know, which really started to suck after about the third time. But some people are saying, oh, you didn't have enough in your maintenance account. Guys, I had $33,000 in my maintenance account, and I blew through that in 3 months chasing those issues. 33 grand, which comes to now, when people ask me how much should they have set aside before they're okay, it's enough to replace everything tomorrow. All of it. The trailer, the truck. The only time you're safe is when you've got enough to do that. That's it. That's the only time you're going to be okay. Whenever you can buy it all again tomorrow. That's it. So I hope this sheds some light on some of you guys. I know there's been a lot of ups and downs. There's been a lot of ups and downs on this, you know, about this with me personally. But it's just, you know, sometimes you got to think about more than what you want. You know, yet do I want a 3,500? No, I actually want to step up from here. Enterprise doesn't offer that. Couldn't really get the price point on what I wanted to make that happen right now. So, you know, this is working for me. No doubt, you know, so I mean, it's kind of a, if it's not broke, don't fix it type situation. But, you know, will I buy a truck in the future? Probably, most likely, yeah. Hopefully I'll buy more than one. But for right now, this is what works. These are the reasons it works that I, you know, just explained in this video. So hopefully this helps some of you guys, you know, make up your mind, see things a few different ways. Really consider everything. You know, it's not just the initial, oh, well, enterprise costs this much and a truck costs this much, I'm going with that. Now, you might want to think about more than just a truck payment, because this involves more than a truck payment. So I hope that helped some of you guys out. I hope it helped you see a few different things, you know, to consider more than just what the upfront payment is, but really what all that payment and you know, encompasses. You know, what all is it actually paying for? You know, you might want to kind of feel that out a little bit before you pull the trigger on something. But if you got any comments or questions or concerns about this, or anything you want to add, take away, you know, I know a lot of you guys are, you know, backyard mechanics and stuff like that. You know, I get it. I'm not. I don't want to be, honestly. I'll tell you the truth right now, because like I said, I've got a lot to do, you know, on any given basis. And the last thing I want to do from coming off of the road is spend my weekend, or, you know, half my next week, you know, fixing problems, having a truck torn apart, you know, in my garage or something like that. I don't want that. So anyway, guys, like I said, I hope this helped y'all out. I hope this helped you see a few things. And, you know, this is why I ended up sticking with Enterprise. And we'll see how it goes from here. We'll see you next time.